Chucked a chair at my teacher.
Taking tantrums, going in the corners. Not doing as the teacher was telling me to do.
The teacher, she started on me, so I started backing her, and when I slowed down a wee bit and started listening to her, she just started getting louder, so I started shouting back at her, and we ended up arguing.
The idea was to try and identify children who had emotional and behavioural, who were experiencing emotional and behavioural difficulties, and really the mainstream school wasn't being successful for them. There was no real reason for them not being able to be in mainstream apart from their emotional and behavioural difficulties.
The number one priority is to educate kids in the mainstream. If kids are unable to cope with that, then I think the next priority is to educate them within their local area. There are a few exceptions. I think for some kids it can be necessary to get them away and out, but there's relatively few.
It provides a local facility that helps children who require a very small scale, very personal form of education to help them to come to terms with problems they may have in relating to their school classroom, their mainstream school classroom, and other children, and often other adults as well. So it helps them with behavioural problems, sometimes social problems, and quite often learning difficulties as well.
Look at the colouring here. Look at the colouring here, and then suddenly it changes shade completely. Why is that? We've got different slabs now, have we?
The children come to what is in effect a house in the area, and because part of the community, there is no mystery about it. It was set up in 1980 as an extension to the secondary schoolhouse. The school at the time, the high school at the time, realised that a lot of the problems were coming from way down the primary area, and the problems were there before they reached secondary schools.
There was one boy in particular we had in school who had a very disruptive effect in school and a very disruptive effect and influence on other children in school. We had a lot of concerns about this boy because as a result of his disruptive behaviour he was unable to achieve full potential with his work in the classroom and in school, and of course he had the unsettling effect on other children in class as well and on the day-to-day discipline and good running and order of the school. We always have a very strong policy in school of trying to sort things out and work through with children and their parents where there are difficulties. But where there was some success, after a time this became less successful and the problems were re-emerging. One significant thing which was re-emerging was that this particular boy was encouraging his siblings in the family to get into trouble and to copy him as well, and this began to make them unpopular in the school too. A teacher who's unsupported finds it very hard to deal with behavioural problems as they arise, and sometimes they have to deal with this by sending the child out of the classroom for discussion with the head teacher. Sometimes an issue has got to be left aside so that it can be discussed later. Sometimes children are actually excluded from school because behaviour is very difficult.
Chucked a chair at my teacher.
Why did you do that?
I was having a fight with the boy and my teacher split up, so I done it. So I was so angry. So I picked up a chair and threw it at him. After school the boy came up to me and punched me, so I banged his head off the wall. I got a yearly form. My mum had to sign it, but I ripped it up a wee bit. My mum signed it and I took it back and ripped it up in my teacher's face. Oh. And I got another one to take back home to get signed. It was the same one. If I ripped it up again, I would get banned from the school for a fortnight. And that's what made me come here. And my speech and my reading and that made me come here. I can't talk that good because I've got problems about it. So I went to a speech infirmary or something. I went to one of them to help me talk better.
There are a variety of problems that lead the children to coming here. Sometimes it's severe truancy, sometimes they're just desperately unhappy children, sometimes they're having quite a few learning difficulties, sometimes they have set themselves up as the hard man, and no matter whether they want to try and get out of it or not, they can't because they're a target.
Just wasn't really behaving in the class. I was just wasn't doing my work, being cheeky to teachers, taking tantrums, going in the corners, not doing as the teacher was telling me to do. Wasn't getting maybe that much attention as all the other people was getting. Like she was going to other people instead of coming to me. I just felt like saying, oh, well, I'm not doing my work if you didn't come and help me. Just put my pencil down and say, I'm not doing my work. She'd say, oh, wait a minute, Paul, I'll be over in a wee minute. But take about half an hour before she comes over.
Every time we were like doing work or something, I'd done something wrong in the class, like work or something, and then the laddie started saying, oh, I'm better than you and that, so I started shouting at him. So I ended up doing there, got in trouble, and then the teacher used to believe his side because I was in trouble most of the time. But obviously I'm going to be in trouble most of the time if she keeps blaming me. The teacher, she started on me, so I started backing her, and when I slowed down a wee bit and started listening to her, she just started getting louder, so I started shouting back at her, and we ended up arguing.
Occasionally, the children themselves are victims, they're targets themselves. They're unhappy at school and don't know how to handle it.
The teachers shouted at you when you got in trouble, and sometimes they got you greeting by shouting at you.
In a unit like this, where children are not, in my experience, excluded, difficult behavioural episodes can be dealt with on the spot, instantly. The people who've been involved in the incident can join in, say what they think about it. The child gets very immediate feedback about why his behaviour has provoked some unfortunate reaction. So the child learns very quickly about behaviour that will bring a good response from other people, and about behaviour that will not be so successful.
The basic philosophy of the Schoolhouse is to try and get the kids to come to terms with their problems, face up to their problems, for us to try and identify their problems, basically addressing their emotional problems, and trying to get the parents to work more with us and their children. So we're forming a bond between the parents, the child and the school.
Well, I got involved through the Schoolhouse from when we moved into this area. What happened was Patrick wasn't settling down at school, and so he was referred to the, what do you call them, the education people who deal with it, and they suggested he came here. Well, what was happening was that he was going to the normal class, and he was behind with his reading, writing. His reading was practically non-existent.
He found out that I wasn't good at spelling, and I was scared in case I got the word wrong, because in half an hour I only wrote half a word.
He was getting very uptight, unruly, because he was behind, and the rest of the kids knew how to wind him up. And he was the one they knew who would do a bullet out of school or cause disruption in the class if they didn't want to do lessons.
And I always kept on getting into fights. Yeah, I wouldn't do my work, just walked out. Then the teachers wouldn't even come out for me, so they sent out one of my old mates, Tommy. He was told to go out and try and get me back in, so none of the teachers would attempt that.
Why was that? Why do you think they wouldn't do that?
Because it was mostly females that wouldn't even try and attempt that, because most of them have been flung about before.
Oh, he was hyper. very, very hyper. It took a while to calm him down, so it was causing disruption with the rest of my family because I was having to spend time with him, so I wasn't spending enough time with the others. So in the end, when he come here, he seemed to calm down here tremendously. He got on with his work, he settled down. Okay, there was ups and downs to start off with, which will happen anywhere you go. But once he got settled in, that was him. At least I could get him to come here. At other times, he didn't want to go to school at all along the road.
We first heard about the Schoolhouse when we were having a lot of problems with Kevin.
Wasn't trying at school and that, so they thought I was just going to be a waster. Just hang about a shopping centre and just be on the door right now.
I used to go to the police station, collect them 2 or 3 times a week for the police station. Climbing up roofs, hanging about shops, causing trouble, fighting. We were totally really fed up with him. When he got expelled from Muirhouse Primary, no other primary would take him. So the only school would, in the end, would take him was Putney Hall, and the headmaster at Putney Hall will actually put us in touch in here because we were having a lot of problems with Kevin at the time, and we just couldn't handle it, so we needed some help. And when we came up to see Mr. Forrest, he suggested that Kevin would come up here for a few days just to try it out.
My mates thought it was for stupid people, just people who were always in trouble and who are never going to get on at school, so just stick them up that schoolhouse. It's where all the daft people go.
When Kevin come here for the first few days, he just didn't like it at all. He hated it, and we just talked to Kevin and says, look, we'll get a try and see how you get on.
Don't be too worried, it'll change you if you want to be changed, that is. It's no playing games every day, it's working hard.
Benefits to the mainstream schools, in the first instance, we have to be quite honest that it gives the school a chance to settle. It gives the class that the children come from a chance to settle. We have to bear in mind that these children, all children have rights too, and very often a lot of the children that we have coming into Schoolhouse are bullies, they're possibly truants. A lot of energy goes into trying to keep these children in the school, but very often they make school a misery for all the other children left in the classroom.
It was just a bit upsetting because if I wanted to get on and get my work done and things and just do everything, but I couldn't do that because of the people. It was just all the messing around and that. You couldn't concentrate enough.
First of all, when we were trying to do our work, they wouldn't shut up at all. It was yap, yap, yap. Even when the teacher told them to be quiet, they were still yapping on, so we couldn't get on at all. And every time they started talking, we got told to stop. So until it was quiet, and he started again, told us to stop. So it kept on going like that for the whole hour, till playtime. So we just sat there, wouldn't do any work until we got to the class.
They were throwing things at us, they were just being cheeky to teachers and to the other people. Couldn't get on with our work at all because the teacher was always paying attention to them, so they couldn't tell us what to do. We couldn't get enough done, so when it came to doing things like small tests and that, we couldn't get very good marks in that.
He was kind of talking a lot and getting into trouble with other people, and he would fight with people outside and cause trouble. He was mainly getting into arguments and he wouldn't do what he was told. Some of the other boys that were pains in the necks, they joined in with him and it made it 2 times worse, and all the people that didn't were getting really bored and sick of it and started complaining, and then the teacher just lost it and started shouting. I got really sick of it because I like to get on with my work and get it done, because I like to get stuff finished. But when they was doing it, it just totally disrupted the class completely, and I couldn't get on with it, and I got really sick of it.
I felt like getting up and hitting him one. It got me that angry because the teacher was shouting and everybody would get the blame and we'd probably get detention or lines, and I just felt like hitting him. I think I would have got in more trouble than he was. But after that, he just eventually went to Schoolhouse. It seemed a lot easier, it seemed a lot calmer for me to get on with my work.
Well, everybody, when the teacher said that person was away, sweeties and that were going everywhere. The teacher handed out a big bag full of sweeties, so that started like a celebration, so we got in at work, and so we had a test every Friday.
A lot changed because we could get on with our work. It'd be a better environment. You could just get on and everybody was friendlier with each other. It was a bit of a shame for them, but the rest of the class needed it. They needed a break.
I think it fits very well into a youth strategy programme where, in order to be effective, we need a very flexible and very responsive range of options for children.
To be able to come to Schoolhouse, in actual fact, is a good way of creating a reversal process when they can go back into mainstream. The further kids go down a tariff scale of intervention, then the costs go up and up. So basically what we're looking at, I would doubt if, including tuition fees, if it would be possible to place a child in a residential school out with the region for less than 20,000. I do know of one establishment that offers a very specialist resource that charges £32,500 per year.
Staffing terms, it's actually quite efficient, but also because the overheads relating to the building, for example, are very cheap.
The first thing it achieves is it seems to calm children down.
Well, they gave you a chance, so they just send you along to the heads. You spoke about your problems and got sorted out there and then.
I've calmed down about that. I've calmed down about my temper.
I think the second stage is the sort of the repair work starts, catching up academically.
Felt more confident. I could spell more words and that.
I've always been getting kept in for my bad behaviour, and I've always kept chase about in that, what's made me not do my work in that, and that's what's making me not to learn so much at Ferryhill, but since I've come here I've learned more.
When I went out in the playground and I didn't get into trouble, the teachers thought that was good and I deserved something.
Instead of what you call it, blow my toe, I would just take it as it is and then later on try and explain it to your teacher. Because if you're always just blowing your toe, you're going to end up nowhere just blowing your toe all the time and end up in trouble.
I think I behaved better in secondary school, just because I've been to Schoolhouse and just taught me to behave better.
I was just a waster up till I come here, and well, they sorted me out, and like, the main fact is, if I didn't come here, I probably wouldn't have. I would have, well, I probably got stuck in here at high school because I wouldn't have tried at high school either. And making me come here made me try a lot harder and do work and realise that just getting the teachers and a lot of problems and that's not going to get me anywhere. Well, I actually got fourth year and I saw my exam results and they weren't up to my standards that I wanted, so I thought I'll stay on, I'll do, I done a new hire and I got a B in it. 8 years ago I wasn't interested in anything except being a joiner or something like that, which I'm not saying a joiner's a bad job, but at least my prospects are wider for me now, so, and my intelligence level's a wee bit higher because it was real low there, I was just away with it dafty, couldn't even add 2 and 2, so glad I came here.
There's always optimism there that when the time is right, that children know that they can actually go back into their mainstream setting. If that is too painful a process, then they can go into mainstream but in a different setting.
He's now moved on from this school, of course, because he's into secondary, so he's at Pilrig. And Powerag is doing well along there. He's had his ups and downs like everyone does, but he's there. He's in his third year now, so he's only got another year to go. And he's really gone on. He's not, I'd say, a main achiever like people who are going to the higher grades and such like, but he has achieved a sense of ability that he is good. He's not a thickwit as what he thought he was. He is good. He has learned to cope with things which he couldn't have coped with, say, in a normal mainstream school.
We can say that these are people who are making educational gains. We can measure reading ages and spelling ages. We can see the amount of work they're able to do. We can see how they relate to other pupils, and we can see how they speak to adults, the adults they meet around the unit, and we can see that they are able to communicate more freely and with more confidence after a spell in the unit, so that I think it does have fairly obvious benefits.
The Schoolhouse model employed elsewhere in the long run could actually save a vast amount of money. I think it's a really worthwhile type of intervention for kids.
I've got an experience of my son, and he needed help, and he got it at the right time. Now, how many other children are slipping through that network that aren't getting help? How many more are going to be truant from school and saying, well, it's not for me, I can't do this, I can't do that? No, instead of cutting these places like this, we need more places like this.
And they should build more schoolhouses around Edinburgh, like for other people, so that they can just show them what they're doing wrong.